Okay, so this morning we heard of structural problems and the big overview. We've just heard some potential solutions. At this point in the proceedings, we're actually now going to turn to people who have been executing some of those solutions, and they're going to share their learnings with the room. First up is Katja Lietz. Katja is the Development Manager, Sustainable Development for Hobsonville Land Company. That's Hobsonville Point, which is the kind of poster child of how you develop new typologies, how you develop quality and affordability at the same time. So Katja's going to talk about the Axis development, which is a very small footprint, high quality, affordable housing typology.
Thank you, Lee. It always makes me a bit nervous when people call us a poster child. It sort of makes it sound like we've got all the answers. And I think one of the points I want to make up front is that the very purpose of the Axis Series Small Home Test Lab was that we didn't have the answers, but we felt that we just needed to give something a go to see whether that got us any closer to finding those answers. Okay, so like Lee said, the topic of this presentation is the Axis Series Small Home Test Lab. But before I get into that, I just want to give you a little bit of context because I'm not sure whether everyone is familiar with the Hobsonville Point development and who we are. So Hobsonville Land Company, who I work for, is a Crown-owned company. It was formed specifically for the project 7 years ago to develop the old Hobsonville Air Base. And our vision is to develop a strong, vibrant community that sets new benchmarks for quality and accessible urban development with an environmentally responsible focus. So it's very much about a government-led initiative that shows an example of how development in Auckland can be done, with the hope of that we get to test some things, that we can show others how things might work, and as well as obviously delivering that specific project. We're quite a small team. We're based out on site at Hobsonville Point. We have our own board of directors. Our shareholder is Housing New Zealand, and we're tasked with delivering a number of objectives around housing as well as a commercial return to the Crown. So it's a point I want to just stress very briefly is we are expected to deliver a commercial return. So everything I'm talking about today is in that context. We're doing things that make financial sense in terms of delivering that return. So like I said, the project I'm about to talk about is a small aspect of what we're doing. The rest of what we're doing is really, in a nutshell, to deliver a quality urban community out at Hobsonville Point, a community where people are well connected to each other and to the place they live, where much of life can be lived locally, where there's local facilities, local schools, public transport connections, and so on. I encourage you to come and have a look, come and visit us, have a look at our website, and specifically have a look at the videos we've posted there recently. In terms of reaction from the market to date, it's been extremely positive, obviously, along with everybody else. We're helped at the moment by the strong market. But what really excites me is that what we're hearing from our builders is that people have really moved from talking about the homes that they're looking at to talking about the community that they're wanting to live in. And I think it's a change in the market that's happening across Auckland. People are much more interested in the community that they want to live in, and the house is very much secondary to that decision. Just very briefly, to continue that overview, the site out at Hobsonville Point is 167 hectares. When it's finished, there will be 3,000 homes, about 8,000 people, a couple of new schools, a primary school and a secondary school, both are already open, neighbourhood retail centres, community hall in-house, about 4 kilometres of coastal edge. The general development concept is one of a spine road, which goes through the centre of the development, and everything is laid out along that. So really the scale of the development is really, it's a new town rather than a subdivision. And I think it's an important point to make because it is that scale of development where people really should have the expectation that they can do most things locally. In terms of affordable homes, we are tasked with delivering 20% of everything we sell at or below $485,000. So that's 500 to 600 affordable homes across the development. We are aiming to do that by producing smaller and well-designed starter homes on compact lots. And I think it is the lot size that's important here. I think we all know that affordable homes will need to be smaller unless you really want to compromise on the quality of those homes. But it is also the land that needs to be smaller. And I think that the comments that Warwick made this morning are very valid. I think we become quite nervous when the proportion of the capital value tied up in the section sort of nudges towards half. You know, what we're really wanting is we're wanting to sit at about a third, and with the affordable homes that I'm about to talk about, that's where we're sitting, and we're achieving that by having the sections quite small. In addition to that, we are aiming to deliver diversity of price points and home types, and we've just heard a little bit about the need to adapt the home, and I suppose the comment I would make on that, that there's probably nothing wrong with moving house if you can move within your existing community. So having that mix so that there's everything from 1 bedrooms to 5 bedrooms, everything from 350,000 to 1.2 million, so that as your life changes, you can move in the community, but you can maintain those social connections, you can stay near your family, you can keep your kids at the same school and so on. Like I said, we are operating a commercial model. We are not building any houses. We're the landowner. We do the master planning, and we partner with development partners who then partner with builders. But what we do is we maintain quite a high level of control, probably more so than is perhaps usual in other developments across Auckland. And as part of that, we support our builders with innovation, and that's really what this project is all about. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to explore whether there was merit in having standard designs. So having some designs that are really well designed, architecturally designed, but they then could be rolled out again and again and again. And whether perhaps there was an idea around modularity, and not modularity of the house, but the section. Because what we found is that the way the section is dimensioned and how that fits into the subdivision pattern became more important than what the house actually looked like in terms of affordability. So the key principles that we established for the wider affordable housing program were that it's market-based, that there's no direct subsidy, so we're expecting our builder to make the usual margin, and we're expecting to make the usual profit on the land. The target market should spend no more than 30% of their gross income on mortgage repayments. We would fund some product development and support some pilots, but really we were expecting this to run in a way that was market-based. And we wanted the houses to be well designed, solid, warm, healthy, safe, and energy and water efficient. In other words, we needed them to be affordable to own over their lifetime. And we already know through monitoring that we've done at Hobsonville Point that through what we're doing, we're achieving energy saving results of 28% compared to the Auckland average, and water savings of 30%. I've already mentioned usual revenue for us and the builder. We are, however, managing, or at least attempting to manage costs aggressively. I think it's fair to say that we are all struggling with rising construction costs, and as we think we're becoming more efficient, something has gone up again, and that's sort of, negated that effect again, but we're working on that. We worked very closely with Auckland Council on this project, and it was really around pushing some of those planning boundaries and having those conversations of how much private open space do you have to have and how small is too small, and what is important. Is it about people not looking into each other's backyards, or is it about the space, is it about the quality or the quantity? And we take an approach of having the affordable homes integrated throughout the development rather than concentrating them in one area. We started out by looking at our target market. So like I said, we're taking a market-based approach, so we quite early came to the conclusion that the people that are on lower incomes and who really require a government subsidy to get them into their own home, we weren't targeting those people. We also didn't need to target the people that really weren't struggling to get into homes, but there were a whole lot of people in the middle, the people who sort of earn around the average wage, so it's average wage rather than household income, so we're talking about working households, and who probably in any other time in history, and probably in most places other than Auckland, could get into their own home. But for various reasons at the moment in Auckland, that's no longer stacking up. So we're talking about people like plumbers, junior engineers, retail workers, nurses, school teachers, and so on. And then we really just applied a market segmentation approach. We looked at who are these people, how much money have they got to spend, what do their households look like, and therefore what do they need. And we heard, I think, Tim using the car analogy, and really we're looking at it like that. If you were a car manufacturing, manufacturer, you wouldn't just make a big car, you would also have a small car in your range, and you would have different price points and different sizes. From that, we started working early on this with Isthmus Group, who are our urban designer who's been involved right from the beginning in the master planning, and we kind of started exploring this topic in some detail. So we worked on the assumption that there was efficiencies in having some standard designs, and we needed those to slot into the standard subdivision layout quite easily. And I think I mentioned before, we sort of came to the conclusion that was nearly more important than what the house looked like. The way we carve up the land happens quite early, and if you carve it up in a way that even, you can always make a section narrower, but if the depth is set, then you're left with quite a large backyard, and there's a limit to how affordable you can make that section. We wanted to take a collaborative approach involving urban designers. We worked with council, and we needed the architect, the developer and the builder to work closely together to really work through those cost issues and practicality issues. We started off with 7 designs at quite a high level, and we then whittled them down to 5 designs, of which we then built 3. The design work initially at a high level was done by Isthmus, and then as we progressed further into the detail, Isthmus brought Architecture Workshop and Chris Kelly on board, who then took those designs through to develop designs and then later working drawings. For the projects, I suppose we talked about 8 key principles that we believe need to be in place to make this work, to make small houses on small lots work. They need to be in a great neighbourhood. We do go out of our way to say what we're doing is applicable elsewhere, but I'm not standing here saying it's applicable everywhere, like it will only work if it's in the right environment. Needed to be affordable, obviously. We really wanted it to be light and spacious, and we felt that was quite important to create a feeling of space, even in quite a small footprint. We wanted them to be architecturally designed. We wanted a real focus on outdoor living. We felt that was important to the way we live in Auckland, is that we do have outdoor space. Even if that outdoor space is quite small, there needed to be space for a barbecue, for people to park their bike, to grow a few vegetables, to have some friends over. We wanted to use the sun in the best way, and the way we did that was really by putting the house in the worst position. So the outdoor space was in the best position, and therefore you had good solar access into the house. And we wanted them to be 6-star, Homestar rated. So this is our site for the small home test lab. The site overall is 450 square metres, and we then subdivided it down into 3 sections. So this is probably a good time to mention our builder. So Classic Builders was our builder on this project, and they financed and built these homes, and we are now leasing them off them for 6 months as show homes, and then they'll be sold to the general public. The reason that we needed to build this was really that we felt that we got to a point where we're having discussions with council, with our builders and our design team around a table with plans, and we just sort of got to a dead end. Like, we couldn't answer these questions without building it. We couldn't say whether the backyard would feel too small or not without going and standing in it. So we reached an agreement with council where they said, well, look, we'll let you sort of push the boundaries a little bit, and we'll let you build this, and then we'll go and assess what we all feel about it. And really that became the purpose of the project, is how do we feel about it, how does council feel about it, how does the market feel about it, how much did it cost, did it work, will we do it again? So just going through each of the 3 homes very briefly. So on the corner, when you go out there, the home that you first come into is a 1-bedroom, 40 square metre home on a 111 square metre section. So this is really small. This is really pushing the boundaries, and really it is an apartment on the ground. And the people that are coming to look at this home and that like this home, that's what they're comparing it to. Like, I could have this rather than moving in an apartment. And it's that weighing up of having some garden versus, some of the benefits that come with apartments. It is really, I think, we heard a little bit this morning about the debate around the urban development in Auckland, which seems to focus on, you can either have apartments or you can have sprawl on the fringe. And I suppose what this project is about all that space in between, on perhaps smaller freestanding homes, smaller semi-attached homes, but that still deliver increased densities. This is home 2. So home 2 is a 2-bedroom, 87 square metre home on, sorry, I haven't got my glasses, I think on about 150 square metres of land. It's much more traditional than the one bedroom. We've built, or our builders have built homes of similar configurations, and they've been extremely popular with the market. So we knew that this type of house would work, and it was really just taking it to the next level of design detail. The third home is a 3-bedroom home. It's 89 square metres. It doesn't have a garage, and it is single level. And what interests me about those two homes is that they're quite similar in size, but one of them has a garage, the other one doesn't. One of them is 2 stories, the other one isn't. And it just allows us to really explore people's preferences for one over the other. In terms of Homestar, just very briefly going through the features, I mean, you will all be familiar with what you need to do to get a home to 6-star Homestar. So heat pump hot water system, all our builders at Hobsonville Point either use heat pump hot water or solar hot water, higher than building code insulation, insulation of the concrete floor slab edge. Now this was the single most difficult thing we did in terms of 6-star Homestar. Everything else was relatively straightforward, the builder knew how to do it. Yes, some of it came with extra costs, some of it came with extra paperwork. The floor slab insulation was a real problem. We did manage to do it, but talking to the builder just before, last week I sort of thought I'd better give him a call and refresh my mind of why it was such a problem, is I think there's a real challenge there for the industry to find a solution that is more workable in a sort of group builder situation rather than in a one-off situation. In terms of water, waste, materials and site, again, you will be familiar with these features. Rainwater tanks, water-efficient fixtures. All our builders use a system called the Green Gorilla Construction Waste Recycling Program. Great program. This bin arrives, they just chuck everything and gets sorted off-site. Hungry bin worm farms, various rubbish bins, veggie gardens and fruit trees. The challenge for us as a sort of large-scale development is really that usually our builders wouldn't landscape the backyard, so this is a big additional cost for them because they just wouldn't normally do it, but to get the credits in this case, it needed to be done. Just in terms of market feedback, we're getting huge numbers of people through the homes. We've had 1,200 people fill out little feedback postcards in the first month alone, and we're overwhelmingly hearing that people like this project. Nearly 70% of people are stating that they could envisage themselves living there. In terms of preference, there's a strong preference for homes 3, so people do like 3 bedrooms, they do like single level. They don't seem to mind so much that this one hasn't got a garage or that it just has 1 bathroom. However, the people that prefer home 1, so even though there's only 6 people that would only like to live in that house, and then another 9% that quite like that house, the people that do like it really, really like it. So it's probably the house where we're getting the most, the strongest response on, and I think there is a proportion in the population who really like the idea of having something quite small and quite compact. They can just lock up and leave, really popular with an older demographic. In terms of qualitative comments, so we're doing sort of 2 things. We're doing quantitative data analysis, and we're getting comments in a systematic way through the staff that staff the homes. People really like the layout. People really like the sense of space, the higher ceilings, and I think this comes back down to the fact that good design does matter. People do understand it, even at the affordable end. They might not be able to articulate it, but when they stand in that space, they can see that it feels different to other houses that they've been in. They also respond really well to the location of the house. So I do think that comes back down to the fact that people are willing to make a trade-off of accepting a smaller home in a neighbourhood they really want to be in. And I think that's really relevant for the Auckland development context. I'll skip over this relatively quickly, but basically we have loads of people that are wanting to buy these houses. There are only 3 of them. We now have a list of about 150 people wanting to buy them, so that's creating a challenge for us, but I think is a good indication that there is demand. Loads of people are asking whether these same homes will be built elsewhere. So if you're in the development industry, there is demand. We're happy to share our plans. They're on our websites. Please go and help yourself. this is an interesting slide. I see I'm just about out of time, but I might just take a couple of minutes to just talk about that, if I may. And I think this comes back down to what do people want. We've heard a lot of speculation about what the market wants, and everybody wants 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom, large homes. We think it's a bit of a myth, because that's certainly not what we're being told here. So we've asked people to rank how important various features are for them. And you can see that the size of the section is right down the bottom, and I think that's really interesting for us. Right near the top are things like locations, layout, how the house feels, and so on. Encouraging, I think, environmental features are sort of starting to sneak up the ladder, and people are actually interested in those. Just some more comments from the people that come to visit the home. Again, people are really well informed, and they do really understand how good design and environmental features work. So I think that's the thing the impression I've taken away from spending some time with the staff there, is that people are incredibly informed about the debate that's taking place, and they're making really informed comments. In summary, Home One really appeals to an older demographic. It's probably the people who are downsizing. A lot of people sort of 70 plus really interested. They're comparing that to a retirement home. The relevance for us is that we were really trying to market these to first home buyers, and we're finding that 1-bedroom homes are just not attractive to first home buyers, but they are attractive to a different demographic. Home 2 and 3 are more attractive to a younger demographic. And I think the interesting thing there is that Home 2 has a garage, Home 3 doesn't. So there is different responses of, would you rather have a garage or rather have an extra bedroom? Interestingly, some really interesting comments around bathrooms. People really like a separate toilet, but people aren't saying that they want an ensuite. So quite happy with just one bathroom if they're on an affordable budget, but perhaps a separate toilet. So just finishing off, I wanted to point out it's a team effort, so needing to acknowledge those people that are listed on that slide, and wanting to invite you to come and visit. The homes are open till the end of August, every day 10 to 4, and come and have a look at the website. All the plans are there, all the cost information is there, so the approach we're taking, it's a research project. We want to share what we're learning from it. Thank you.
Now, isn't that encouraging?